of my own called the DEJUI Nigeria Limited. The DEJUI Nigeria Limited right now is mostly into giving guidance and assistance for research and projects execution, and also my master's thesis, my master's dissertation was a presentation I made during this competition. And so currently pushing that for industries to buy into it is the use of local materials for the formulation of drilling fluid to replace the conventional materials, cut costs, and all that and all that. So why am I here? I am here to deliver an ALP. And what does this ALP mean? Number one, to share my experience and my knowledge about technical report writing, and also to talk about SPE. First of all, right now, what I'm doing is I'm communicating. So we communicate every day in our lives, all right? But there are basically two modes of communication. And those two modes are either oral communication or written communication. In oral communication, it has to do with making a presentation, having a seminar defense like we have in school, making a proposal defense, maybe a business proposal, or even your undergraduate or postgraduate research, and also having a training online like SPE used to host, courtesy of Victor and all the rest. We normally do have online training sections for data analytics, for different things and all that. And then when you come to writing communication, that has to do with, there are two forms of it. There's a non-technical and then there's a technical. We're not going to deal anything with non-technical, but just have a general knowledge that non-technical is more of entertainment, is more of suggestion, it's not absolute, it's not carried, there was no experiment done, and most time it's mostly just to entertain or to bring humor. While in technical report writing is the total opposite of that. It has to be accurate, it has to be precise, it has to be less words, easy to understand. It doesn't call for humor, okay? It's all about seriousness, because it's something that someone else should be able to replicate, and you don't want to be joking with people's life, okay? All right. There are things that help us to have effective communication. Those things are, first of all, when I talk about oral communication, you're talking about from the speaker through the channel which the speaker is using, and then to the listener. While for that of writing, it has to do from the writer through the channel in which the writer is writing, and then to the reader. Okay, now there are different, or should you say advantages of written and oral communication. One of it is that in oral, you can use your body language, you can use body language to express yourself, to get yourself better understood. But in written, you're not in front of the person, so you can't do that, okay? And then also in speaking, in oral, the speaker is limited by time. I mean, they will tell you, like right now, I've been given my time, so I might not be able to even finish conveying my knowledge to you. So that's a challenge. Meanwhile, in writing, I will pour out my whole heart into the book, okay? And then also in oral communication, the speaker can can be stopped at intervals and ask questions, which I know the moderator has saved me that part and said, just keep your question to the end. If not, but the speaker can be stopped at different occasions and be asked questions. Unlike in writing, the writer just writes continuously. There's no interval, there's no stopping, okay? And then also, people tend to listen faster than they speak. So that is also a challenge, or the differences or the advantages and disadvantages between oral communication and written communication. All right. Now, some attributes that make your communication to be effective is that, number one, you have to have passion for it. Whether it is written or it is oral, you have to have passion for it, for your communication to be effective. There has to be sincerity. There cannot be forging and lies and all that. You might escape at that very moment, but it will definitely come back. So it has to be sincere. There has to be accuracy. You don't just forge results. You don't just say things because you heard it from somebody. No, it has to be accurate, okay? And then it has to be ludicity. It has to be exact. It has to be succinctness, like someone else can be able to do it again and again, maybe in a little different way, but it can, my point is, can be replicated, okay? And then there must be orderliness. You don't start talking about drilling fluid all of a sudden and you jump to production and then you come back to the orderliness in your writing and your communication skill. And also the appearance, the way your work appears, it has to appear neat. It cannot just look, whether you wrote it with your hands or you're typing, you can actually type a document and it doesn't look neat. So it has to be neat. It has to have good appearance, okay? And then some of the elements or the main point or the things that bring out communication. Number one is the content of the communication. If your content does not make sense, people would not want to listen, whether you're using spoken method or written method. Also the form, that is the way it will go, is very, very important also. And then also the purpose for which you want to communicate. There. No, it should have a reasonable reason, like I normally say. And then also the audience you're trying to communicate to. You don't just communicate. If only you are the one listening to yourself, then you're not communicating. Someone has to hear you and understand what you're doing. So you consider your audience also. All right, so we move down to technical report writing. So what is technical report writing? Now, technical report writing is about, should I say, 3 to 4 words. First of all, it informs people, it instructs people, and it is directed to a specific audience. If you remember in my previous, I said your audience is very, very important. So what makes a report technical is that it is not general, it is specific for a particular audience, and it's informing the people, that audience, and also it is instructing them or directing them on how to do things, how to behave, or how to work, okay? And then also that this audience or this instruction and information you're passing to the people or to this audience must be clear, must have clarity and precision, all right? And have specific tangible goals. Like I said, the purpose is very, very important. This aspect has to do with purpose, all right? Okay, what are some other things about technical writing? Technical writing is hardly persuasive. Even when it sounds persuasive, the persuasion is indirect. So once a report is persuasive, that report is no longer technical writing, okay? And also, it is not often specific to only technologies or technological center fields. Some people get that confused. They think technical report writing has to do with only sciences and engineering and architecture. No, technical report writing can be applied to government policies, to finance situations, to different aspects of life, okay? And then also it must follow the Puritan plain file. Puritan plain file is a set of people from the Puritan church. They wanted to convey their idea and the way they want things to go in their church. So they brought out this method or this procedure of how to write. So a technical report must follow that procedure. Now, cases might be different because your school might want a different type of outline or a different type of convention, but the point is it has to follow that flow or that file, okay? And then also sometimes technical report writing is referred to business writing because it is often used in variety of business discipline. Now, what are some of the similarities that technical report writing have with other writings or reports? One of the similarities is that it's the writing process. You're definitely going to write. You will definitely have to brainstorm. You definitely have to read books. You definitely have to ask questions. You definitely have to write something down and cancel it, add more things, remove things. Okay, so that process is the same for everything that has to do with writing, okay? And then also, it takes time and effort. Whether it takes you only one day to get a technical report ready, and then it takes someone else to get maybe an entertainment document 10 days, the point is time was involved. So it will take time, it will take effort. It will also take strong language skills. Okay, that means if I'm talking to engineers, I have to use engineering terms. If I'm trying to make a joke, I have to use funny terms that will make the person catch what I'm trying to say. So it involves the both reports normally involve strong language skills. And then also, it is normally a research. Whether I am trying to find out about the funniest joke that will make people laugh, or I'm trying to write down or draw a type of dance that is going to make people want to dance it. The point is, by the end of it, I need to ask questions. I need to find out. I need to make inquiries. So it will involve, both type of writing will involve research. And then also it will follow a rule. Like I told you earlier, I said some schools have their own pattern or their own style guide. So so the reports, whether technical or non-technical, will definitely follow a particular style. All right, so now, what are the things that make technical reports unique or different that you'll be able to differentiate it from the general reports? Okay, one of the things is that the knowledge technical reports conveys. Like I said, that it can be experts in your technical. Okay, and you need to know and prove your reliability or your knowledge. You cannot just get up and write anything and say you're writing a technical report. No, you have to have knowledge of that thing. You have to be an expert in that thing, either because you've tried it over and over and over, or you've had an experience in it. Okay, and then also the information you're sending out must be 100% accurate, because like I said, technical report is something someone else can replicate. Someone should be able to replicate it. So you cannot put a false information down. It has to be 100% accurate and true. You don't put your emotions down in technical report writing. I mean, I'm not going to write a technical report about drilling fluid and then I now write how the person in me slaps me or got me upset one day. That's not part of my technical report writing. Okay, so your emotions is not an option in technical report writing. And then also the languages you use, put all those jargon, put all those words, all those that apply to that area. It amazes me sometimes when I read students' projects and they're writing about, let's say, drilling, and you don't get to hear words like derrick or doghouse or the derrick man, the Christmas tree and all that. They tend to use layman's simple term. Yes, you want to make your thing understood. That's good, but this is a technical report writing. So it has to have those terminologies in it, those languages, okay? And then the tone, it must be formal. You cannot be informal in a technical report writing. Then it is not a technical report writing. It must be formal, it must be clear, it must be straightforward. And then you're not really allowed to give examples in technical report writing, because like I said, what you are saying is you're saying that my idea is the best, is accurate, it is perfect. You don't need to tell people or because Dorcas did it and I'm doing it, so for that is correct. Or take example for what Dorcas did and I'm no. It is your idea that should be there. Although there are cases where you might have to use maybe one example, but it is very, very rare in technical report writing. All right, and then some of the rules of technical report writing is that purpose of your finished product, okay? You must know, like your information must convey or must inform people, must tell people about your finished product. You're not going to say you're writing about drilling fluid and by the end of the day, I finish reading it and I still do not know what drilling fluid is. Then your technical report writing did not follow the number one main rule of technical report writing. And then also remember and understand your audience. Your audience is very, very important in your technical report writing. Who do you want to capture? It's just like when I was doing my master's thesis, my aim, my goal was to capture drilling fluid companies that formulate drilling fluid, provide a way to cut costs for them. And so I focused on that. I don't go talking about production companies or well testing companies. No, you must remember your audience and understand them. And then also know your audience. Would they like it online? Would they like it in hard copy? So you must know them and understand them. Okay. And then also have an in-depth knowledge of your topic. Now, this one is one serious challenge with students, especially. You should have an in-depth knowledge of your topic. All right, be consistent. Don't go here, come back, and be wavering. No, be consistent. Write precisely, like as in keep the information short. Don't use long grammars and plenty English. Just go straight to the point, like they say, hit the nail on the head. All right, and then also write clearly and make good use of visuals. You know, I used to tell students, I said, people will complain, lecturers just teach us and tell us so many things, solve plenty maths on the board, write. We don't get to see what we are learning. And then you will get to find out, yeah, you want to do a project and you will hardly put picture inside the project. So that means even you yourself, you don't even want to see what you have been learning since, or you don't even want the next generation to see what you have been learning. So make use of good visuals, okay? And then also, some of the rules that technical report does not obey. is passive voice, okay? Technically, not obey the rule of passive voice. It does not obey the rule of figurative languages, no. And then it does not obey sentence fragment where you put your sentence in beats me, no. Your sentences should all be together and make one sense, okay? And then also writing rules of technical reports. Like I said earlier, it has to be comprehensive, good comprehensiveness. When we go over there, I would comprehensiveness, and then it has to make emphasis. The point you want people to know about has to be emphasized in your technical report writing. And then again, of course, has to be facility, and then also it has to have good quality, and also it has to be confident. Like I said, you're not giving us someone else's idea. You have to give us your own idea, accurate. Be sure that yes, what I'm saying is the truth. All right, it has to be written in. Don't expect me to see your face and say, okay, this guy is serious with what he's writing. No, I need to read and know that yes, you're serious with what you're writing or what you say. Okay, and then some of the qualities or some of the things that would make your technical report writing to be comprehensive is that it has to have open sentences with short, concrete subjects. When we go to the next one, I'll show you what that, I'll give you an example of sentences of what that means, okay? And then it has to choose and use specific verbs. Don't use adjective or adverbs to modify the verb. No, use specific verb, get to the main verb and move on, okay? It has to be concise, like I keep saying, few words, all right? And then also use affirmative sentences. Assurance is important in technical writing. You need to be able to convince me, the reader, that see, this thing I wrote here, this is the final. There's no other way. After this way, no other way, all right? And then also, you need to remember and know the new rules, the known new rule. Even in mathematics, you don't go from the unknown from the known and then you solve and get the unknown. The same applies to technical report writing. You have to follow your audience with what they already know before the new idea that you want to bring to them. You bring that at the end. So you start from the known to the unknown, or to the new know that you want them to know, okay? And then also control spelling of words, okay? Keep it simple and little and no phrases or clauses. And then use parallel sentences. That means the sentences should connect. I shouldn't be talking about, like I said, I shouldn't be saying my aim is to talk about drilling fluid, and then maybe I go to my background and I start talking about completion companies and how to complete a well. No, it should be parallel. They should connect. They should flow. Okay. All right, so now these are some of the examples of those things I just explained to us. I try to bring up sentences so that we can understand. For the case of a passive voice, you have to promote one point above the other. Take example for here, I say volunteerism in SPE is required. Here I said in SPE, volunteerism is a required activity. Now, I'm talking to SPE people, so I don't really want them to know about SPE. I want them to know about volunteerism. So there's no point for me to say in SPE, volunteerism, no, because then the person forgets the message I want them to know and go worrying about SPE, okay? So you need to be direct, you need to promote what you want them to know, you need to promote that above every other thing in the sentence. You just go straight to the point. Volunteerism is in SPE is required. They know that the main thing you're trying to tell them is volunteerism. Let's take for figurative languages. Figurative languages has to do with using a common thing that they know already to explain something that seems complex. Like now, I gave us two examples. I said the tool pusher is to climb, okay, that's climb, not climbs, is to climb into the dog house, and that's house, not how. It's to climb into the dog house like the dog climbs into his cage. Do you see that? Everybody knows how a dog climbs into their cage. So by the time I compare that to a tool pusher, even a layman knows what I am trying to talk about. He knows that a tool pusher is like a dog. The dog has it like the cage. The tool pusher walks into the dog house the same way the dog will climb into his cage. Are you seeing that? It's connecting it. And then also, I gave a second example. I said, twist on the safety nerve clockwise. somebody might not know what clockwise is. They start wondering what is clockwise. But the minute I say twist onto the safety nerve clockwise, like twisting on a bottle cap to open it, the person knows that they need to turn rightwards, okay, to open that safety valve, okay. And then also talk about sentences in fragments, that you should use it when necessary. If it's not necessary, don't bother yourself. Make your sentence very brief and straight to the point. All right. And then comprehensiveness, that means no important information should be left out. Everything that is important, yes, we want you to be concise, we want you to be straight to the point. The thing is, we don't just want plenty words that will confuse people. Just go straight to the point. But that doesn't mean you should leave some information out. No, every important information must be included. All right. And then make emphasis of the most important point, the ones that are not, leave it behind. And then facility has to do with making the information easy to locate. I shouldn't flip through from the beginning of your technical report writing to the end to locate the word drilling machine. You should have a heading called drilling machine where you explain drilling machine for me. So the minute or sometimes I go to your table of content, I shouldn't be looking for a table that explains well productivity from the beginning till the end. No, I should be able to go to your list of table, see the page where I'll be able to find the table that explains production. So that's what that facility has to do about. Then quality, make sure it has good grammar, it has good spelling. Now we have what we call Grammarly online. You can even use it online for free. You don't have to buy the full package. So use it, check the grammar in check your sentences, check your punctuation marks, check everything, because it's very important. We'll see an example where punctuation actually saves somebody's life. All right, and then like I said, confidence, you should be very, very decisive and asserting, like it is the only way and the final way. All right, so these are some of the examples based on those words I was saying. Now, for an open sentence with short, concrete subjects, choosing specific verbs, make the points quick and be concise. Here's an example. Once upon a time, as a nomination through SPE members were taking place on the part of Engineer Bada, a call to serve over the position of SC was made by the board, causing him to be delighted. Now, if you be honest to yourself, none of us understood what I just read. Even me, I did not understand what I read. That's how bad when you don't make your sentence straight to the point and concise. Okay, but now look at a better way to restructure this sentence. I said, Engineer Bada was delighted being nominated by the SPE Section 103 board to serve as section chair via volunteerism. It is the same message, those two things are sending out. But you find out that the second sentence is concise, is straight to the point, and it makes sense even for a child to understand. All right, and then in the case of from the known to the unknown, it says here, I give an example of a parallel sentence. In his spare time, Engineer Daniel Madogo enjoys beach logging, volunteering for SPE, and has a 3rd degree black belt in karate. I mean, if I'm telling you that, you're going to be like, say what now? You know, because the things don't connect, they don't follow the parallel, the sentences are not parallel, okay? But look at, I tried to restructure the sentence, the same thing that are not parallel, but restructuring the sentence make them to be parallel. I said, in his spare time, Engineer Daniel Madogo volunteers, because after you talk about his professional life or his family, the next thing you want to talk about is his SPE volunteering life. Okay, so he volunteers. He's not just volunteering as part of his hobby or activities. He jogs and he practices karate. Nobody wants to know whether he's in 3rd degree now or 5th degree, whether it's black belt or yellow belt. Just give them the message, the points that they need to hear, okay? And then the next example again on choosing or using specific verb and going straight to the verb you need. Here I said the red switch allows the power to be controlled. That doesn't make sense to me anyways. But look at the second sentence. It says the red switch controls the power. The red switch does not allow the power to be controlled. Okay, it controls the power. Finish. It doesn't allow it. All right. So you go straight to the verb that you need. All right. And then the last, second to last example there says, never walk with barefoot. Okay. You don't use negative sentences. No, like I said, it has to be affirmative. Rather, tell the person, always wear your safety boots. You are affirmative, not never walk with barefoot. So the person like, okay, I don't need to walk with barefoot, but I can walk with slippers. But in an unsafe environment, the person is still unsafe. So you be affirmative with your information and make it straight and direct. Okay, and then also let's come to the punctuation. I told you how punctuation saves somebody's life. Look at here. It says, let's eat grandma. Listen to that sentence very well. What does it tell you? It tell you that I am saying that me and you I'm telling you that come, let's go and eat grandma. Whether my grandma or your grandma, I don't know, but let's just go and eat grandma. All right. But look at in the second part where I put the comma there, the red comma. It says, let's eat grandma. That means we're informing grandma that grandma, come, let us eat. So punctuation is very, very important in your technical report writing, because grandma would have been eaten here and dead by now, but punctuation just saved her life. The same thing, I gave a second example of something we can easily relate. I said, let's say me and Daniel, maybe we just heard the good news about SC, and SC is coming, and I'm like, let's toast SC. If I am SC, Engineer Bada, and I hear that, I will take a step backward. Like, these people want to toast me, like they want to cook me, they want to eat me, or what you get. But what I'm saying is, me and Daniel were telling Engineer Bada, the SC, that let us toast maybe to this new good news or something. So your punctuation mark is very, very important in your technical report writing. All right, and then also the content design and the page design. Like I was talking about using good visuals. If you look at this first this is a research page from my work. It's just plain and straight. It won't excite you to read it. Even me, if it won't excite me to read it. Now, this one may excite me to read a bit because it has some colors difference. It has small white line space here and all that. But this one that has pictures, has plenty of white line spaces in between it. The sections are distributed properly. This will be the research I would easily grab for and want to read or go through. So make sure you use your design content. All right, now your technical report as a whole, all kinds of technical reports are normally divided into 3 layers. One is your front matter, the next one is the text matter, and the last one is your back matter. The front matter has to do with everything that will happen at the preliminary pages. The text matter has to do with everything that is in the main text, the body of the work, the main information you're trying to pass out. While the back matter has to do with your appendices and things that are related to your work, but it is not the information itself. All right. Now, here are some examples of or samples actually of a technical report writing. These are examples. A lab report is a technical report writing. Manuals, factual data, statistics, directions, handbooks, training materials, forms and survey, government laws, enactments, business documents, even a textbook, list of instructions and all that. They can all be a technical report writing if when writing it, they obey all those rules. All right. And here are some samples I gave you. This is a manual teaching you how to play golf and have good goals. This is a manual also teaching you how to use chopsticks. It is a technical report writing. And this is also the same manual I showed you before. It tells you how to couple a tire together. And then this is my research page, also a technical report writing. All right. So, like I said here, you see that the last example I gave there was research. So we're going to center on research because students, this is one thing every student does before they graduate. Everything about technical report writing, we've discussed about it. So even those in the industry, those in the business sector and all that are on this ALP should be able to write any technical report writing just following those rules. But now, in different type of technical report writing, like I said, they have their form. So for research, the cover page, as in the front matter, the text matter, and the back matter might not be the same thing for a manual, okay, or for a Google form or for a website, okay. All right, so let's go into research. First of all, a research has to do with either an undergraduate project, what we used to call our project work in final year, your PG, that is your postgraduate dissertation or thesis. If you're doing master's, it's called dissertation. If you're doing PhD, it's called a thesis. All right. What does a research mean, or what's the definition for a research? A research, first of all, is a search for knowledge. Outside that, it is a scientific investigation. Also, it is new facts that are going to be added to a branch of knowledge, or a branch of knowledge that does not exist at all. Okay, and it can be systematic. Okay, and then also it is a voyage of discovery. All right, it is a movement from going from the known to an unknown and solving that unknown. All right, so all of these tell us what a research is. And what are some of the properties that a research should have that will make it different from a manual or a lab, a handbook, or a training directive? Okay, a research will have, it will define things and also even redefine things over and over again, if necessary and if needed. Okay, and then also to formulate hypotheses and suggest solutions to those hypotheses. Okay, and then also it will collect, okay, it will collect data, it will organize, and it will evaluate all this data that it got. Okay, and then it will make deduction and reaching conclusions. All right, and then also carefully testing the validity of those conclusions. Those are the properties of a research. And then outside that, what are the objectives of a research? The objective of a research is exploratory. Hello? It's exploratory or formulative research studies. That means it has to have familiarity, okay? Someone has to be familiar with it. Somebody has to be able to look at it and know what you are doing, all right? And then also, it should portray accuracy. Now, this is a descriptive research studies. It should be able to portray accuracy. And then also for that of the diagnosed research studies, it determines the frequency at which something is occurring, okay? And then also for that of the hypothesis, that means it is testing something that you're thinking is like this. You want to find out for sure, this my thought, is it real? Is it true? My hypothesis, is it true? Okay. Now we have different types of research, okay? One of the type of research we have is descriptive versus analytic. What does this one do? This one is just strictly definitions, okay? Like your Schlumberger glossary is a type of descriptive research, okay? At the same time, if I want to write a research on the situation in COVID-19 and I gave definitions for it, you know, taking an analysis and making definitions for it, that is a descriptive and analytical type of research. Another type of research you can have is your applied versus fundamental. This one has to do with providing immediate solution. Remember, the first one is either the solution is there, but people don't really know what it means. In this case, you're providing immediate solution to a problem. Let's say somebody is suffering from convulsion. Before they'll start running tests on their saliva to find out what type of medicine is good for them and blah, 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 you bring a spoon, you put in the mouth of the person and the person gets better. What you just did was applied and fundamental type of research, okay? And then also we have the quantitative versus the qualitative. In this case, you're using quantities, you're using qualities, either that already exist and then to provide a solution to a problem. It's just like the data analysis people do, all right? They take things that have already existed, things that have taken place, data, and they formulate to make something. And then also you have the conceptual versus the empirical. This one has to do with calculations, providing formulas like your Newton's first law that we're all using today, fugacity law, and all that and all that. Those were gotten from conceptual versus empirical type of research. All right, and then we now have the approaches in which we can take. After you decide which type of research you want to go into, each of them have their own approach. One of the approach you can take is quantitative. Quantitative has to do with using of numbers and sizes. So if you're doing a final year project or a dissertation or a thesis that has to do with analyzing of numbers, data, and numbers and sizes and all that, the approach taking is quantitative. And then if you're doing a research approach that has to do with data, analyzing data, comparing, maybe creating a program with it or a language with it, what you're doing is inferential type of inferential approach of research. And then you have the experimental. Of course, I think we should all know what that means. Literally doing an experiment, okay? And in this case, the beautiful thing about is you have great control of that your research environment, unlike for that of inferential and quantitative, okay? And then another one is your simulation. Simulation has to do with making an artificial of the real thing, and then using that artificial to study the characteristics of the real thing and compare and say, okay, if this is done in this real thing, because I did it in the artificial and it worked, if it is done in the real thing, it is going to work also. So that's what simulation is all about, okay? And then you have the last one, which is the qualitative. This one has to do with credibility, either, like I said, credibility that already exists in previous researches or credibility that you found out by yourself, but it has to do with credibility. All right, and then we go to the significance of a research. Research are very, very important. They are very significant. We cannot overemphasize that. Some of the significance is that it provides solutions, solves various problems, operational planning problems. It promotes logical habits of thinking and organization. Okay, like me, for example, if you tell me thing, or if I want to do something, I just cannot move and do it. I have to sit back down, think how I'm going to, what step do I take? How do I take those steps? At what time will I take it? You know, I can't help it. That's because of being involved in several researches. So it gives you that logical thinking ability or skill, okay? And then it increases economy. I mean, several economies are blown today. Talk about China because of their several researches they have, okay? And then also it provides the basis for policies, government policies, economical policies, social policies. It is researches that have been done that provided those basis for those policies. And then also it provides answers to various social problems. Now, why do we do research? Different people have different reasons why they do research, but some of the reasons are either to increase your knowledge about that particular thing, or to advance in your career, to grow, okay, or to create an outlet of a new idea, okay? You want people to, you have this new idea that came into your mind and you want people to know about it. The best way is to go about a research about it, because then you have to write a technical report which can be published or sold or something, okay? Also, sometimes it is done to develop a new style of doing things. Maybe you're tired of the old style and you're like, okay, let me see this other way and see what will come out of it. And then also is a formal training. You know, it's amazing how I see students run away from research classes or don't want to calm down and take it. My dear, for me, anyways, I'm speaking for myself, it is one of the best experiences I had. Well, I didn't have the best kind of technical report writing, but working as a research assistant for Professor Wami is part of where I got my project management skill, several skills I've gathered today. It is from research. So it's a type of technical training for you, or a formal training. And it will also help you understand your environment or that field you are studying. Because that particular topic they gave you that has to do with your field, definitely you will touch here, and you get to be informed, okay? And then also it is to solve life challenges. And above all, which is, if you're like me, anyway, this is like one of my motivation because of money and source of livelihood. I tell people the reality truth, as much as I want to solve problem, because a problem, the money comes flowing. So one of my reasons of going into research, apart from solving man's problem, which is, yes, my ultimate, the other one is to make an income from it. All right, so we move on to the criteria of a good research, which I think I practically said, so I'm just going to run through it. There should be clarity, technicality, like I said, use the right technical languages and knowledge, all right? And then language structure and terminologies, order and flow of points. It has to flow. You cannot go from A and jump to Z. It has to flow. Increase to knowledge, okay? Your research that you're bringing out into the world ought to increase the knowledge of other people. It's not supposed to be something that has already been done. No, it has to have, no matter how, maybe even 1% of increase of knowledge to what you're doing, okay? And then also, it should be a reference in that people can reference. So that's why you should put facts in there, because someone will probably reference to it, all right? And then it should be systematic. That means creative thinking should be involved. Everything that has to do with guessing and not sure and thinking and maybe should be out of it. It should be removed, especially in your conclusion parts. All right. And then also it should be logical. That means it should have logical reasoning, it should have logical induction and logical deduction. Okay. That means process and ways in which you did it, or you should do something the right way to do it. And then it should be empirical. Empirical does not always have to do with calculations and all that. Sometimes it has to do with just anything data, okay? So it should relate to one or more concrete data that already exists, and then also provide basis for external validity. Above all, your research should be replicable. Some people do things and nobody can ever do it back again or start it again or even do something similar to it. No, a good research is always replicable. All right, so now we come to the research writing itself. Now that you know the qualities, the criteria, the rules, and all that, and all the approaches and the types, you've made your decision. Okay, I want to do this particular type of research. I want to follow this type of approach. I'm going to make sure it's a good research, following all those rules. This is my motivation for doing it. I want to make more money, or I want to solve man's problem. The next thing is, how will this research text that you're writing, how will it flow? Remember, I told you, I said it is divided into 3 parts. You have the front matter, which has to do with the preliminary pages. This takes 5% of your total research work. Whether you're doing a project, a dissertation, or a thesis, it should take 5% of the total work, okay? And what would that page entail, or what would be there in your front matter? Your cover page. People get confused between cover page and a title page. A cover page is just the title of the research, the name, and the date only. While in a title page, the title, possibly if you're doing it as a student, your previous, if it's a postgraduate study, your undergraduate study matric number is needed to be there, or at least the school you graduated doing your bachelor degree is needed there. Then the school you're graduating from, in some cases, is also needed there. Then, like in my school, UST, you have to write impartial fulfillment of the award of a degree of bachelor in petroleum engineering, clinical, plenty English. It has to be there in that place. And then also the date in which it was finished. And then immediately after your title page is your abstract. Now, your abstract is supposed to be very short, concise. It's supposed to be a summary of your whole work. Normally, the advice or the formal, proper wordings for your abstract, it shouldn't be more than 250 words. Inside that 250 words, you should use your Time New Roman as your as your character, and then also use font size 10. Your abstract text is supposed to be looking very tiny. That's the upper standard anyways that UST use. And then also in this, your overall summary, it should contain the subject of the matter, the aim, the objective, the methodology, the results, and the recommendation. That means you have to know your work very well. For me to be able to tell you a story that was a drama that was in 2 hours, in 5 minutes, that means I must have watched that drama over and over and over. So I just go straight to the point and I hit the nail at the head. That means you need to know your work very well. All right. And then after your abstract page, you have what you call your declaration page. This page is you saying that I did this work. I didn't copy it from somewhere. I didn't steal it from somewhere. I did it by myself under the supervision of this and this and this and that person. Then you go next to your certification page. Your certification page is where your supervisors, they will sign, and you too will sign. And then also you go to your acknowledge page. Acknowledgement page is the page where you say thank you to people that helped you, people that contributed to your work. That's where you tell them, you mention their name and telling and appreciating them. Then your dedication page is the page that whoever you're dedicating that research to is where you mention about them. Then you have your table of contents immediately. Your table of contents will list from your preliminary page, that is your front matter page, down to your appendices page. You have all of that listing done. And then after your table of content, the next thing you have is your list of figures and tables. Now, if you're following upper standard, list of figures come first before table, because F come before T. All right, so you have your list of figures, all the pictures and everything that you put in your main text, in your text matter, goes in your list of figures. And then all the tables you put in your text matter, not in your front matter, not in the back matter, in the text matter, must be listed in your table of contents. Your list of tables. And then you go next to your list of appendices, is the next thing in your preliminary page. You list your appendices that are at the back matter. You list them. If you have different types of appendices, you list them there. And then the next thing you have is your acronyms and your nomenclature. Sometimes students get confused between acronyms and nomenclature. Acronym has to do with like SPE, that is an acronym. It came from English. Okay, let me use a layman's term. Acronym has to do with English, nomenclature has to do with mass. Okay, if I say density and I draw Rio, I am supposed to come to my nomenclature page and draw Rio and say equal to density. Do you understand? So that's what it is. And then we now go to our text page. Now, in our text page, this is where the information is being conveyed. This is where the main thing is happening. This is the happening place, all right? And then in this happening place, first thing you come across is your introduction page. Your introduction section. Your introduction section takes 10% of the total work, all right? And then your introduction section, you will have your background, you have your statement of problem, as in the problem that you're trying to solve. The background, some people get confused and carry literature review and put in background. No, your background is supposed to be precise. It's supposed to get your reader excited to want to read your work. That means you don't give them all the information there. You just list things, you just mention things, that's all. Let them go to the main text and find out about that thing you mentioned, all right? And then also, you give the aim. What are you trying to achieve in this project? Sometimes you see students say, my main aim is this. Sir, ma, you don't have a main aim. Aim is aim. There's no main, there's no fake one or the one that we can overlook. No. All right. And then you also list your objective, the steps you're going to take to achieve that aim. Aim is the end point. Objective are the steps you're going to take, the methods you're going to follow. All right. And then you put, in some cases, you're required to put the significance of the work, the justification, as in to tell that this work is really, really relevant and it is important. And then the scope, like where will you stop? Where's the boundary for your research? Okay. And then also the flow of the study. Some cases is required. You list the flow of the study. And then the next thing we go to is our literature review. Literature review is normally your chapter 2. Your literature review should take a 20% of your total work. Okay. In literature review, you will define terminologies. Those terminologies you mentioned in background, you will now come to literature review and define them and explain them and say what they mean. And then also, it will have previous work that has been done in that field of study. Not all the previous work you can find in this world. No, the ones that has to do with that your study, that topic you're studying on. All right. If I'm dealing on drilling fluid, I should not go and get a previous work on well production. I should not go and get a previous work on reservoir management. No, it should be on drilling fluid only, previous work that has been done on drilling fluid. And then the last thing it will have is what we call the bridging of the gap, or the current work to be done. Okay, now that is where you state what you want to do. That is where you say, okay, this is what I want to do as I go into chapter 3. Now, I used to tell my project student, this is a secret I give to my project student. I said, see, when you want to do bridging the gap, just go and carry your statement of problem and your aim, combine it into one sentence, and that gives you your bridging the gap. Because you're trying to say, see, there's this problem and this is how I want to solve it, or I am going to solve it. That's the bridging the gap. So you could do that to save you the stress of reading the work all over and trying to process it again. And then you go to the next chapter, which is for project undergraduate, is normally called methodology, but for postgraduate, it's called materials and methods. In this chapter, you list all the materials you're using. In a situation where you're using materials and equipment in the lab, you list them and you list the equipment as apparatus, and then you list, let's say, the solvents and the chemicals as materials. And then immediately after materials, the next thing you have is the method. What method are you going to follow? What approach are you going to take? Like some of those approaches I've already called, you just state it there, and then you start putting down the procedure, the step-by-step of that approach that you're taking. If you're going to do calculations, you don't type the calculation in your chapter 3. No, you move it, the calculation sheets and all that, and step and order, you take it to your appendices page. Your chapter 3 is just supposed to list the procedures and the steps you took. the process of which you took to achieve that research. Then we go to the chapter 4, which is our results and discussion. Now, this is another mistake I see students make. They just bring the result and they paste it there, the end. No, you have to discuss your results. I cannot say COVID-19 is a deadly pandemic, the end. No, I need to tell people why it is a deadly pandemic based on the research I did. It's a deadly pandemic because it has killed several people. It's a deadly pandemic because it kept so many people at home. It's a deadly, you have to discuss your results. So that's what you do in chapter 4, results and discussion. As you put the result, and then sometimes they will put, student will put like 3 tables and then now discuss it. How am I supposed to know which part of the discussion goes to which table? No, the minute you put a result, whether it is a table, it is a figure, it is a sentence, you discuss immediately under it. That is the structure it should follow. And then after your results and discussion, which is like 30% of your total work, you come to your conclusion and recommendation. Now, in some cases, like when I did my master's, conclusion and recommendation also had what we call contribution to knowledge. If it has that, fine. It's just saying list out the things you have contributed to knowledge. If not, your conclusion, you draw a conclusion based on your result, what you got in your result, what you discussed in your result. You draw a conclusion. It's normally wise to list your conclusion rather than making it a sentence, so you don't repeat what you've already said before. So after that, you go to your referencing. Now, another mistake students make is they just pack things and copy and paste into their work, copy and paste. They don't reference the owner. My dear, that is plagiarism. It's a very serious offense in research. If you are caught, you go to jail for it. It's just like Nigeria takes things so lightly and so uncare, but it is a very serious thing. Nobody is saying you cannot copy or that idea has not been done before. Yes, but cite the owner of the idea. Let people know that, see, this idea I know, this is the person that told me. Okay, it's just like you have an information, you tell your friend tells the next person without letting them know that you were the one that told them. You always get that ill feeling like, why? You get. So it is the same thing. It's a very serious crime in research. You should cite people for a knowledge that is not yours. And then also, now we go to our back matter. Like I said, our back matter has to do with the appendices. In appendices, you have things like the raw data that you use to estimate your results. You have the calculations, like I told you, your calculation sheet where you did your step-by-step calculations is listed here and is put in here. You have some graphs that has nothing to do with your result, but they are necessary. They will be put in the appendices. And then other quantitative material that you might have used. If a company helped you or supported you in the research, you ought to put their company profile. If they don't mind, you take permission for them, you ought to put the company profile in the appendices page, or a professional, a person that helped you with it. And then these are just some tips or objective. I want us to, if you didn't get anything, just get this part. Objective in introduction is the basis of the flow. Your objective is what tells you how your work, your research would flow. That is your objective section in your introduction page part is what tells you how your work should flow. So that means the scope should be in line with the objective. Your scope should not be to cook a whole pot of okazi soup. Meanwhile, in your objective, you say you're only going to go to market and buy okazi soup. No. It should go in line with it. And Daniel, why are you smiling? You like okazi soup. And then also your methodology or materials and method must be in line with your objective. You cannot say, like I said again, you cannot go to your objective and say, I am going to go to the market, I'm going to buy okazi and come back to the house. You now go to objective and start writing how to cook okazi soup. That is none of your business. Your business, you said you were just going to go and buy it and come back to the house. So your methodology also must flow with your what am I saying? Your objective, okay? And then your results must flow with your chapter 3, which is your methodology. You don't go and put results there that you did not do or you did not research on in your chapter 3. It must flow. And then also your conclusion must flow or be in line with your objective. That means in your objective, when you say the following objectives are to obtain a mod and formulate it, to obtain equipment and evaluate the mod properties. You should, in conclusion, you should say the mod that was obtained was formulated, giving you a water-based mod. The equipment that was obtained was used to evaluate the mod properties, and density gave us this value, this one. Do you understand? It has to be report. It's as if you're reporting what you said you were going to do in the past. You have done it. You're reporting it now in conclusion. So it should flow in line with your objective. It should be a, is it past present tense they call it, of your objective. And then the figures and the tables are titled according to the chapter. If you have a figure in chapter 2, that figure automatically takes 2. So when you're titling it, it will be figure 2 point. Then you check the position at which that table is. Is it the first table? Is it the second table? Is it the third table? If it's the first table, it's figure 2, the chapter, point 1, which is the position. So that's how you number or title your figures and your tables. Those are just some tips I want us to know. Now, when you've published you've done your research, you did a very excellent and wonderful research. SPE gives you the opportunity not to keep this research to yourself, but to be able to put it out there to the world, to appreciate it. And even in some cases, possibly impact a life, cause a difference somewhere in the world, okay? Why? Because our industry is multidisciplinary. So don't say, oh, I'm a geologist, I'm just gonna do my project and I leave it behind. No, in our industry, geologists are needed. The chemist is needed. The chemistry person, engineer is needed. So do this research with all your might. Do it with enthusiasm. Do it with passion. Do it with, I want to solve a problem. Do it with, I want to be able to sell it, like the same way the Bill Gates does. And I want to achieve that also. And then SP gives you that opportunity to be able to make an impact in the industry, because the industry is multidisciplinary. What is SPE roles for us as members of SP? If you're a member of SP, you have a research, it gives you international opportunity to attend international events. STC just finished, and one of us, Israel, was able to go and represent us for the region. If he did not do a thorough research, I don't think he would have gotten to that point. In fact, not I don't think, I know for sure he wouldn't have gotten to that point. So SP will not just train you technically how to know how to write a technical report. It will also give you the platform to get to publish and promote this research. Okay, it will also provide you online resources and paper that will help you in researching, in getting the idea, the knowledge, the necessary information you need to carry out this research. And then also give you regional events and communication where you can publish this. And then online network also, e-mentoring people. If you need to talk to somebody, to ask questions, to make inquiries, SP will also provide you that. And then also in a situation where your research work is precise, is accurate, is perfect, you get to achieve recognition and awards. You get to publish it, or even get a research grant to do it somewhere. I got a research grant for my undergraduate work. It is actually a prototype of it. That is an artificial one of it that the student uses. It's actually established in Taraba State University. It has to do with the design of a floating crude oil storage tank of 100 barrels per day. So putting in passion and doing your research work where is very, very important, because you don't know where it will take you to. All right. And then also, as you can see here, as a student, one of the opportunity that SP provides you is student paper contest and Petro Bowl. So why wait till when you become a graduate, or until you have undergraduate degree before you have a project, before you publish, when you can get involved right now and enjoy that? And then we also have, for young professionals also, young professionals get to enjoy this same benefit. I have one paper in SP that was just published this year. It was supposed to be part of one of the NICE paper presentation. It was I sent in 3 papers and they accepted one. All right. But of course, NICE did not hold, but it was still published and it is counted in my name. It is there in my ResearchGate. It has increased my ResearchGate view, my academia view, and all that. So researching is a very, very important aspect of your field, and also SP will give you a good opportunity to be able to publicize it. And then these are the different ways SP has helped me. why I will encourage you also to be a member of SPE. Like as you can see, it's emphasized there. I got to publish a technical paper in NICE 2020, as in my name is there, it's in the history. So become a member of SPE and get to enjoy all these benefits like I have. Also, if you want to find out more, if you want to become a member of SPE, you can go to any of those websites right there, click on it, and get to log in and be a member. We'll be happy to have you. And also, you can provide feedbacks about this presentation and this training via this link. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll take some questions when my moderator gives me the permission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dorcas. It was quite an interesting session with you. Very good delivery. It's very obvious that you are the expert in this, because even your communication was very clear and concise, straight to the point. You mentioned that communication could be written and oral, and what you have done is the oral part. So imagine why I'm saying this: we shouldn't totally dissociate ourselves from the oral and focus on just the written. There are times you may be called upon, okay, come and talk to us about this technical report you have made. So you should also have in mind that sometimes you may need to speak, just like you have done today. So on that written, you have made it clear that we have both the technical and the non-technical types of writing. And for the purpose of our discussion today, we focused on the technical report writing. Okay, we went through a lot of aspects, the attributes, elements, the uses of technical writing, of course. We talked about its uniqueness compared to other forms of writing. We also emphasized on some rules that it does not obey. Likewise, rules that it obeys. I like the part where you talked about punctuation saves lives. Very, very important. Because I don't want to go into the Bible. There's an aspect of the Bible that just one comma change that sentence, and this has created a lot of doctrines in the church, just the punctuation. I won't go much into that, but the examples you give were very good. Let's eat grammar is different from let's eat grammar. So you can imagine how just a punctuation can change everything. So you also described how a technical report layout should be, and I think it's good. I like the 3 pictures you pasted. One was a bit rough. Second one was, a bit fanciful. The third one was very clear. It followed some column styles. It had a lot of graphics in it. And I wasn't seeing in details what was being displayed, but I already had the interest in reading that particular one. So it's very important that we focus on how our technical report is being presented, the layout. Then they also went through aspects of research work, which is very important. I didn't even know you were going to capture that in your presentation. So it's good, because what I'm saying is I know MM is online. Recently, we did a research, the HSC Technical Institute. So from what you have told me, I can now categorically say that what we did was qualitative research, because we had to, review the just released policy on occupational health and safety. We try to look at its effectiveness, its robustness, and how it can be implemented. So it's very clear now that what we did was just qualitative, and I'm very impressed that I can now categorize the kind of research I do. So it's very important, because undergraduates, especially in their final year, will take on a lot of research. So it may just be qualitative, Like I believe what you did in your time was also qualitative, like what you said. Like a kind of comparing companies that produce delivery food, something like that. Yes. So it's very important that we understand what we are doing. Why all of this for me is important is the quality of the technical reports depends on the quality of research you do. If you don't even know the kind of research you are doing, if you have not put in a lot of effort in understanding your research, how would you write it down? Well, luckily for undergraduates, there's an aspect where you may need to defend your project work. So, a lot of people will scribble anything, but they are very good talkers. They are good orators. In the end, they make an A, not because of the quality of their presentation, in the technical reports, but because of how they spoke. And that was my case, really. I will have to confess. I am a very good orator when it comes to that. My research work, for what you have described here, was not up to standard. I mean, in writing. But I made an A, but I believe I made a very good delivery. In any way, it may not work for everybody. So it's very important that we try to ensure that these steps which Dorcas has highlighted for us, to try to follow it to the letter. Plagiarism, like you mentioned, is a very, very huge offense. You know, you mentioned that in Nigeria now it's not so much of an issue, but I can confidently tell you I know a doctor in the letter department, I won't mention his name, that almost lost his degree. He's a popular person. He was caught, that he plagiarized almost 100%. We have a lot of tools these days that they just carry your work, you don't dump it there, click run, and it tells you if there's plagiarism on it. It's no longer those analog time where the people have to go through. No, now it's very easy. It takes 1 second to confirm. So please, even as you do your research work and you know it's going to go public, try to avoid plagiarism. I know a lot of questions are already in the group chat, but before we take the questions, I would like to also mention that this session is being transmitted live on YouTube. So even after the session, if you wish to go through what we have discussed again, there's a link already in the group chat. Just click on that link and save it, and you can watch the whole session again. Some people prefer to listen than to read. So even if we send copies of the presentation slides, you can still have time to watch it again. At least you get to see Doctor's fine face. Then apart from that, we also have in our midst some persons from the Untitled Chapter. Forgive me if I don't mention here. I know a few people. I know Ella Muzan is here. I think she was one time a wifey chair. She's online here. I don't know if she's still here because I also saw MM. And someone that I work closely with for the last 1 month. She has been on my neck. I've been on my neck, and we had a very wonderful quarterly technical meeting just last week. So it's good to have her here. Then also we have other people. I think I'm seeing Professor George Wami and Isaac Nwakukwa. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name very well, but it's good to have you guys. I always see you guys here with us, so it's always wonderful to have you in our midst. Then before I take the question from the group chat, I have just one or two. I won't call them questions, just clarity. You mentioned something about passive no rule. I don't know if I got that very well.
Yeah, passive.
Something about passive no rule.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, personally, I've read a lot of technical writings online. I've looked at a lot of previous projects, and I still see a lot of people use passive words. But I think these days it's changing. It's more or less in an active manner. I'll just give an example. And for example, now look at this statement now. A new process for eliminating nitrogen from diesel is being presented. This is passive. Now, what I think it should be in an active perspective should be, I am presenting a new process for eliminating nitrogen oxide from diesel. You see, there's a lot of difference. The first one is a bit, you have to strain your ear to understand. You have to read it. You need to read the sentence twice to understand. So I'm trying to stress the importance of we trying to conform to using active words. Why I'm saying this because even as of today, I still see a lot of people use passive words, and sometimes you need to reread a statement over and over before you grab it. Sometimes even simple statements, because you are not in an active perspective, it becomes a bit confusing. So it's very important to use that. Then you talked about acronyms. Now, there's a new style I see these days. I don't know if it's right or if it's just what people have adopted. Apart from where we define acronyms somewhere down at the end of our project or at the beginning, sometimes when it is used the first time in a paragraph, we define it immediately. I don't know if that is the right thing to do, or all acronyms must be defined on a table for acronyms separately. I don't know what that is. One question or query I would like to have. Then two, there are certain words that sometimes when you introduce in your technical writing, they expect you to also briefly explain it. For example, let's say MATLAB. MATLAB is the programming language. It's not an acronym, really. So sometimes they advise you to put it in italicized, then in bracket, you just quickly explain what MATLAB is, then continue with your statement. So I don't know if this is the right thing or if it's just you have to keep it down and define them later. So that is from my own side. If you can answer that, then later I'll take questions from the general participants.
Okay. For your first question about acronyms, it's two ways. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Actually, before I continue, just in case he leaves, thank you, Engineer Chikezie, for attending. It's an honor to have you here. Like, I'm talking and you are here. Thank you so much, sir. I really do appreciate. And same goes to Mr. Isaac Nwachuku. I am so delighted. You told me you were going to be here and you're here. Thank you very, very much. I feel really humbled. Thank you, sir. Okay. Back to your question, Daniel. It depends, okay? Like I said, irrespective of the rules and the regulation that a technical report has, by the end of the day, you have to follow your school or your organizational outline or conventional way of writing, okay? That's first. Then also, when it comes to acronym, it is two ways. If you define it in the sentence, let's say the very first time you mention it, like in your abstract, once you mention an acronym in your abstract, because the first page they are seeing, the person is not going to go to your acronym page and start trying to find out what that acronym you wrote there means. So you are advised to immediately define that acronym in a bracket, or write the full words and then put the acronym in a bracket. Then subsequently, you continue using the acronym. You don't have to use the full word again. The same thing too can apply to the text part of your work. You write the word and then you put the acronym in a bracket. Subsequently, you keep using that. In such a situation, you don't need to have an acronym page. If you would do that for every single acronym you mention, you don't need to have an acronym page anymore. Okay, but in a case where you might end up just put this acronym, you even forgot it is there, you didn't define it and all that. That's why some schools make it mandatory for you to have an acronym page where you still go and define all those acronyms. Okay, so that's just the rule behind that. And then for your second question, you said something about MATLAB and italicizing. I'm not sure I really got it.
Okay. What I meant was, for example, you use a phrase or let's say a word that is, MATLAB is like a programming language.
Yes.
But in itself is not an acronym. It's like a combination of several words.
That's the name for it, yes.
Yeah, that's the name. So usually they tell you to italicize it, then in brackets, write the full meaning of what MATLAB is, then continue. Just similar to acronyms.
Yes.
But this time around, the advice, it has to be italicized. That's what I'm saying. Is it a standard rule or just...
Okay, now that's because it is a name of a program. It's just like, for example, if I decide to make my name now Dej, which is Dorcas 18 Jimmy, I chose to make my name Dej, okay? Definitely, if you use that word Dej, knowing fully well that my name is actually Dorcas, or my full name is Dorcas 18 Jimmy, you ought to italicize to make people understand that, see, this is not her real name, but this is a name I created because to call her full name is too stressful for me. That's why you're asked to do that italicization. It is the name that is being known for that particular program. But in reality, it was actually created as an acronym from maybe the lengthy nature of that this thing. And then also, it is a name for an object, not a person, as in not a tangible, okay, let me not say a name for an object. It is not a tangible something you're seeing. So that's another reason too why you italicize such acronyms. When it is a name of something that is not tangible, you're also required to italicize it.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's go straight to the questions in the chat. First one is from Tony Tofan. Okay, as is there a standard format for technical report writing? I think that's the essence of the whole presentation. So I don't know, unless you want to add to that. Yeah.
If there's a standard for technical report writing?
Yeah, is there a standard format for technical report writing?
There's no standard format. You just know that a technical report will have a front matter, it will have a text matter, it will have a back matter. If it is a journal you're doing, okay, the part where you write the name of the publishers, their department, their school, and the abstract, that section is taken as the front matter. Even though it will still be on the same page, in some journal, it will be on the same page with introduction. That is the front matter. That's just the format you should know, that your technical report must have a front matter, which has to do with abstract, declaration, dedication, if it's in a journal, publisher's name, those things that are not really part of the information, okay, is what I mean. So it will have a front matter, then it will also have the text matter where you have the introduction. Remember, in journal, you will not have introduction, literature review. No, inside introduction, you're expected to have both literature review, statement of problem, objective inside the journal article, okay, in the introductory part of it. So there's really no standard format, but there are rules that must be obeyed, and then there's a layout, put it like that, there is a layout for technical report writing, which the layout will be front matter, text matter, and back matter.
Okay. Thank you very much. Soro Joseph asked, in technical report writing, what are the things we need to avoid? You talked about the things we need to do. Tina is trying to ask the question in the converse. What do we need to avoid in technical writing?
For SPE technical paper?
It wasn't specific, just in technical report writing.
Okay. Now, I've never tried out student paper contest. In fact, while I was a student, when my then president and me, the vice president, when he presented his paper, all I did was mostly helping him because he wrote it down on a piece of paper, as in on an exercise book. All I did was help him to type, because I had a laptop, he didn't, was to help him type it and put it in a Word document. So I don't know the standard and the rules for student contest level. But for the publication I did under SP for NAIS, I know that you will be provided a guide, a format guide on the rules and regulations you must obey. Your heading, your subheading, they are not the same. They don't use the same font size, they don't use the same character. Okay. Even exactly the callings, your figures also, I know are published in IJSTRO, and the way they do their own is completely different from the way I had to do for SP. In fact, SPE paper took me 1 month to put together. At the point, I almost gave up, but I really wanted to make sure I have a paper under SPE, so I had to be persistent and continue. So they will give you the format for it. Just follow the format. Just read it and obey it. If you have issue, you call someone that has done it before to explain it for you. So that's just the secret behind technical report writing for SP students contest level, to be able to win. And then outside the formatting also, it is your idea also they are looking at. Is it something novel? Is it original? Okay, that's another thing, but that's one thing I noticed why my other 2 papers were not accepted. Like the tiger nut that was not accepted, the aspect of tiger nut that was not accepted, it was not a novel idea. People have been doing replacing of conventional material, and I even felt bad because my supervisor, of course, Professor Wame, which is my boss, he was telling me, put carrying capacity in it to make it unique. People have been doing, I'm like, no, nah, they've not done tiger knot itself. So make sure it's a novel idea outside following the format. Make sure it's a novel idea. Make sure it is something that is necessary and important right now in the industry. And I bet you it will sell. Okay, and of course, make sure there's less plagiarism, because mine was the only one they accepted was rejected later for over 20% plagiarism. I've actually done a work like that, but a different aspect. So they thought I was copying that person. So I had to write a letter to SPE, explain to them that no, that one too is my work. This is a different aspect of it. And all that, and then finally they go, okay, fine, but just change. I had to change the whole wording. Imagine changing the words and still sending the same message. SPE now, but anyways, it was worthwhile. So that's just what I can tell you for that one.
Okay, somebody is asking because he said, David, he asked them, how do I know the type of research I am writing? I think he's referring to a form like it's descriptive and all of that. He wants to know.
Okay. Like I explained in the different types, I told you, I said, if you're doing experiments, definitely it's experimental versus analytical. If you're solving an equation, maybe the equation is too ambiguous and you're trying to reduce it to a simpler, straightforward form, you are following empirical approach. If you're, let's say in your lab, you're able to do a prototype of, let's say you're a chemical engineering student and you're able to do a prototype of a distillation column, that is an artificial of it. That's not the main distillation column. It's an artificial you created there. And then you're using it. Maybe you heard that there's this so problem in the distillation column in the industry, and you're trying to provide a solution for that thing, and you're able to get a prototype, exact same thing, but maybe a smaller size in your lab, your school lab, and you run experiments, you provide solution to that. Then what you are doing, you're using artificial this thing style. So that is simulation. So it all depends on what are you doing in that research. Are you calculating plenty equation? Are you defining things? Are you just trying to tell us what this means, Are you trying to use data to interpret something? So each of those things you're doing will tell you the type of approach you are approaching in your research, or the type of research you are doing, whether it is descriptive or any other one.
Okay. Since you said you have been a victim of plagiarism to an extent, somebody is asking, is there any plagiarism tool? Tonya is asking, are there any plagiarism tool or software you can recommend to us?
Okay, one perfect plagiarism tool that I always use is Grammarly. Grammarly will not just tell you that. You say?
Can you spell it? Because I'm also writing, I'm taking notes.
Okay, GRAM, as in double M, GRAMMARLY.
Okay, Grammarly. Okay.
Yes, it will not just tell you you are copying. It will show you where to put comma and make it different. It will also suggest sentences for you that you can use instead of those ones, and it is still sending the same message. Okay. If you're using a premium pack, the minute you copy that text and you drop it there, Grammarly will just change. It will not just tell you are wrong. It will change everything for you, and then I tell you where you were wrong, that it changed.
This is stealing.
Exactly. So that's one. Aside Grammarly, there's one that starts with a P. Is it protest or printers? Then outside that, you also have a plagiarism tool or machine. Is actually called plagiarism tool. Now that was the one someone had to help me and use that in UST for my master's thesis. By the time I was done, me, I prefer to correct it as I'm bringing it in. I don't like to do it at the end, because to me it's too much work. As I'm bringing in the text, I like to write it in my own language and then type it on. So when they run the test for me, they found out that I had 30% plagiarism. And they were like, oh, 30% is allowable. And I said, no. By the time they go to the main UST own, it might rise to 50. So better safe than sorry. So they ran it for me. I went back and I redid it again. I've forgotten the name, but it starts with a P. And then outside that too, like I said, there's also a tool called plagiarism. But if you type them online, you see they'll bring up so many options for you. But the ones I've used that work perfectly for me is that plagiarism tool and Grammarly. Those are the two I normally use.
Okay. I don't think there's any other question. It's more accolades and thank yous dropping in. So I think I'll just hand over to the SPE chapter, the NDU SPE chapter president to carry on. Thank you very much, Dan Doctors.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you too. Somebody's asking a question about example, giving example.
Okay. Okay, let me read it. I just saw it now. Daniel, okay. Please, you said it happens in rare cases. For example, because this person did this, I was able to come up with this. So this kind of scenario isn't it included in the results and discussion slides? Please, is there something like a disclosure of statements just after completion of research writing?
Okay, now when I say example, I'm not saying you don't refer. It's just like in my master's thesis, I was trying to check for the effect of sand in your drilling mud, okay? So definitely, when I checked and I found out that the one that had less than 1% sand was giving me a better hole cleaning ability than the one that had above 1%. What I did was, according to API standard, 1% sand is the maximum allowable sound. Now, I'm referencing API because API has done the same thing and got the exact same results. When I say don't use the example, what I mean, okay, let me use a layman's term for you. Let's say you come out, it's raining, and you're walking under the rain, and they ask you, why are you walking under the rain? Instead of you saying, okay, because I've walked under the rain severally and I've never fallen sick. Now, that is a fact. You have done experiments, you know. You now tell me, oh, I'm walking under the rain because I saw Mr. A walking under the rain. Do you get my point? That means you're not even sure of what you're doing. You're just doing it because Mr. A did the same thing. So those kind of examples are not allowed in research, because then that means you are not sure of your idea you are conveying. But when you say, I know for sure what I did because Mr. A did it before and got the exact same answer, and this is the reference for it, that is different. That one, you're not giving example. You're referring to confirm your results. Do you understand the two difference, Daniel? So that's just the difference between it.
Okay. I don't think there's any other question.
Okay, he said something about disclosure. A conclusion is conclusion. After conclusion, the only thing you should have next is recommendation. Do you understand? Conclusion, that's where your research ended. That's where the party, they're off lights. And now you're saying everybody, recommendation is more like, oh yeah, everybody walk safely, based on the enjoyment and strength you have from eating food in my party, make sure you walk safely home. So I know after conclusion is recommendation. If anything, based on your school outline, like I said, you can add something like contribution to knowledge. In fact, USP it is mandatory. Even after you have told them that this is the conclusion and wonderful result I got, you need to tell them how that your result is contributing to knowledge. So now that's different, okay? So it's all about your school standard or your company organizational standard that they gave to you.
Okay, I don't know, Doctor, thank you very much. I'm hoping your next presentation will be on oral speaking, because it's also part of presentation.
Will be on what? I didn't get you.
Oral speaking, oral presentation.
Okay.
Not just technical writing, because students will also have to speak in the end. They have to defend their project work. So lighting is one aspect.
That one, let's will buy me mineral or water to use. Oh, my throat for talking. Just joking.
For me, I'm really jigged up now because, like I said, I have a technical report I need to prepare. And with all of this information, I'm good to go. There's no problem. I intentionally delayed. I said I must start after this particular session. So thank you very much, doctors. And I think at this point we can hand over to the NDU SPE chapter committee. Or is he here with us?
I think he lost connection.
Okay, he lost connection.
Yes.
Oh.
So Tonya, can you take it up from here?
Okay, thank you very much. We are very, very grateful to Miss Dorcas. We are really happy for you giving us this enlightening lecture. Well, we also want to thank everyone for being a part of us and sharing us up in this program. We hope that we'll benefit subsequently from other events that SPE is organizing for us as students and also for young professionals. Well, this is where we'll come to the end. I don't know. Since we didn't start with a prayer, maybe we can just conclude like this. Or do we have any other comments from the moderator?
I have one request for the moderator.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Her table of disciplines in the oil industry. I beg. This is the third time I'm begging her. Add HSC, please. We have HSC. In fact, because of this, I'll try and organize an ALP for how people can become HSC engineer. This is a very critical aspect in oil and gas industry.
So, I will definitely add next time. Please forgive me.
Thank God I've made it public. Everybody's hearing. So,
no problem.
No, because of this, I'll have to arrange one ALP. I'll try. So, thank you very much.
Please.
So over to you, please.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I think this is where we'll draw the curtain close.
So, yeah, are we taking pictures?
Let me do that now.
Yeah, please take pictures. People can put on their cameras, please. Everybody put on your camera.
Okay.
Let's take a picture.
My other camera.
Me, I have two cameras. Let me on this one. Yeah, people will confuse. Okay.
Still taking pictures.
Oh. If you are done, let us know. Everybody's smiling. My smile is not finishing.
All right, no problem.
Same with mine too.
Okay. I think I'm done.
Simeon, well done.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Isaac, thanks again. Thank you so much for attending.
Welcome, sir. I didn't know you were being
here.
Engineer Osman, sir. I'm very loyal. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Engineer Nelson, thank you so much.
I wish this message gets to those that need it most. I'm not seeing enough of the NDU students online. And I remember I was part of the inauguration of the NDU chapter of SPE.
Wow.
I was there. And I'm not seeing enough of my people. So please do something to bring up the spirit. Because when as students, they are not participating so much, when they exit, they fizzle out of SPE. That's what I always see in a number of people. There are many people who are very active when they are students. When they exit students level, do their NYSC, they are looking for jobs, they come to us, we help them. As soon as they get the job, they exit from SPE. So we need to encourage them, we need to do something. Maybe in due course, some of these things can be taken down to the university physically.